So Titan Season 3 is quite a ways off yet, but that doesn't mean we can't talk about what could be happening in the upcoming season. And what better question to tackle other than that of arguably one of the biggest in the show so far from fans, with Jason Todd's debut in Season 1 Episode 6, in that being, when will he die and return as Red Hood, if at all? Obviously this video surrounds speculation, since there's no way of knowing exactly for a fact what is going to go down in Season 3 with relation to his character until we see it ourselves, but I definitely have quite a few thoughts that I'd like to share that we can look back on when Season 3 comes this fall. Also, a big part of topical discussion videos are your input, so make sure that you include your thoughts about where Jason will go next at the end of this video after hearing what I have to say about it. Other than that, guys, make sure you like this video if you do go on to enjoy it, and just subscribe if you want to see more Titans, news updates, and kind of video essay topical kind of discussion videos just like this. So just in case you weren't already aware, which I'm sure most of you are, but just for those who aren't, Jason Todd was of course the second of Batman's Robins, who is very popularly known for tragically dying at the hands of the Joker, only to then come back after being resurrected and return in a new persona as the Red Hood. Now, ever since Titans introduced Jason Todd in his own titled episode in Season 1, and now having seen his journey along Season 2, fans have been racking their brains as to when that moment was or will take place. And, you know, I remember a lot of people even thought it would happen in Season 2 with a possible change of Deathstroke being the reason for Jason Todd's death. But personally, I've always maintained, even when Season 1 was being released on DC Universe week to week, that if I had to take a wild guess at when they were going to take a shot at their take on Jason Todd's transformation, that it would be at some point during Season 3. Now, of course, this could still not be the case, and we could indeed find Jason alive by the end of Season 3, but no matter what, Jason's journey into the Titans live-action iteration of Red Hood would definitely be a season-long arc. So if it will happen next year, I don't really expect it to happen right away. If anything, I would somewhat expect the events that are responsible for transforming him into that new character to happen right at the end of Season 3 for a possible return in his new persona at some point in Season 4. But another aspect to this I think fans have to acknowledge is that I don't believe whatever they do with Jason Todd's character in the Titans DC Universe iteration will be at all the same as to what is most popularly known to happen to him in the comics. I mean, this can be for a couple of reasons as well, but most commonly is the whole excuse of, you know, you've probably heard it before, limitations of the show. And I'm pretty sure that Titans wouldn't get permission from DC to use the Joker in a scene beating Jason Todd with that crowbar, and of course then there's Batman's appearance in his attempt to save him, or just, you know, of course him being involved. And, you know, they've already stated that they can even use Batman in the show during Season 2 because of limitations. So sure, we've had the Joker already in that reality manipulation in Season 1, but we barely had him. I mean, we couldn't see his face, there was no audible lines or anything, and as for Batman, well, he was a big kind of blurry blob, so I think you kind of get what I mean with that. I think you can all imagine that whatever DC Universe's Titans does with this, it will not involve the Joker, who was and has formerly been known as the Red Hood himself. And sure, you could say that they could have Jason kidnapped in an off-camera explanation and that he died with the same origin to then return in the show at some later point, but that just wouldn't happen. I mean, think how awful and lazy that would be. So I think it's fairly obvious that Titans are going a whole new way about this, but how would this Titans live action Red Hood debut make much sense in a traditional perspective of that Jason returns with the name and persona of Red Hood, someone that the Joker was formerly known by, and his return with that alias being a taunt against not only the Joker but also Batman himself for his failings? Just how would that work on Titans if the narrative would be so different with whatever they do? Well, assuming that Titans wouldn't mirror the same story of Jason's fate in the comic books because of what I've already mentioned, Titans going a completely different route could mean that they also might not even call him Red Hood, considering where Jason got that name from in the first place in the comics. I know at the same time in saying this though that there will be quite a few people saying that how can you have the Red Hood make an appearance when the origin isn't at all the same, and I partially agree with that, but if the show can't go the super traditionalist route and they have to make do with what they've got, forging a new innovative story story and identity could be an intriguing opportunity for the show to do, as much as some people will be like, you know, if you can't do the Red Hood, then don't do it at all. And I've mentioned this before in previous videos, but towards the filming of the end of season 2, at a table read, Curran Walters' title card that all the actors have for their name and respective characters, you know, that are displayed on a card in front of them, instead of it saying Curran Walters and Jason Todd / Robin, this time it displayed Curran Walters / Freebird. Now, Freebird being an alias for the Titans show in filming, the Titans name itself, which can also be taken as his role from that moment onwards, was also Freebird due to it being an alias for his new and future role on the show, especially given how things ended for him in season 2, and this kind of adds up. Now, one core thing that Titans has done well, not only for being one of the highlights of the show for many fans, but also just decent justice to the character, is the character of Jason Todd himself. I think Curran Walters does a great job at portraying the various character traits and personality of Jason Todd with his attitude and origin, and along the 2 seasons we have seen him kind of have his moments of feeling unwanted, rejected, and just more continuing disregarding storylines that ultimately paved his way to leave not only Batman but the Titans as well, with him storming off in that scene after finding out that Rose was initially playing him and the Titans. Now, this part of Jason's story was more or less a tease of the beginning of the end, I feel. I'm not really quite sure if I would call it the straw that breaks the camel's back just yet though, because this is when I think about the story Jason will have or potentially have next season and what I feel is more likely to happen. Now, with the way season 2 ended, as we just went over, Jason Todd said screw the Titans. The last time we saw him was on that motorbike attending the airfield scene where Donna Troy's body was being handed over to the Amazonian warriors to return to Themyscira, but he didn't return to the Titans, he just rode off. Now, this implies that Jason's journey next season will be independent from the rest of the cast, but I can't really imagine the whole season will just consist of scenes of him and him alone. Now, I think it's possible at some point between episodes 1 and 4 of season 3 that Nightwing, or should I say Dick Grayson, could reconcile with Jason Todd, since Nightwing has, you know, perhaps been reaching out to him at some point, which I could imagine is what Dick Grayson has in store for himself after trying to set everything right by the end of season 2 already. This way, Jason is back in the fold with the new established superhero version of the Titans 2.0 to only ultimately have another tipping point along the season, alongside a series of events throughout the season that just kind of cast as foreshadowing until that breaking point of where the change would happen. But on the flip side, they could have Jason going off on his own and handling his own drug busts, similar to what he and Rose, got up to in their own time away from the Titans towards the end of season 2, and this could be how he may run into the Titans from time to time. I definitely don't think he's gone running back to Batman either, firstly because that would mean he wouldn't really be back for scenes in season 3 if he was just chilling with Bruce in Gotham, and secondly, he probably feels like he was just slumped off on Dick Grayson by Bruce because Bruce couldn't handle him himself, you could say, which just adds more to his rejection issues. But I don't know, to me, Jason just going off on his own for a season just feels like it might not really go anywhere unless there was a story that really linked Jason's solo ventures into the same path of what the Titans are doing next season, and I'm just not really sure what conflict or further pushing to the edge would be in store for Jason if he's just off on his own. Now, this is why I lean more towards him coming back to the Titans with an arc of more similar aggravations unfolding throughout season 3 for him, likened to that of what happened last season, and at some point the kettle boiling right up until the point of where they have this defining moment for him, possibly towards the very end to set up for his fully fledged role in season 4. And also, despite Titans having metahumans and a wild array of abilities from DC heroes and villains, I'm not really so sure if we're going to go into that realm of where we would see the inclusion of the Lazarus Pit in the show. So I don't think he'll necessarily die and be brought back to life either. I just feel ultimately that Titans might be leaning more towards a psychological transformation in Jason Todd rather than the traditionalist death and resurrection that, after a long development, which you've already seen be made apparent with his character struggles already in the show, will ultimately leave us believing as to why Jason changed into the Red Hood-esque role, even if that's not the new name that he adopts. But other than that, that's mainly the speculation I have. It's not like I could tell you exactly how the writers are gonna give a specific story arc to what character or what event will make Jason crack under this scene or that scene. These are just my general thoughts on where I think and how I think the Titans show is gonna bring their quote-unquote kind of Red Hood iteration to Curran Walters' Jason Todd, if that's even the way to say that. By the way, how do you think things will go next season? I mean, how do you think they should write Jason's story, considering it's very unlikely that they'll strictly adapt the Red Hood origin from the comics? I mean, do you think there will be a major jumping point after a season-long development, or do you think it will be something entirely unlike anything I've even discussed in this video? Other than that though, guys, just thank you so much for stopping by today and spending the time and getting up to this point in the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button, and also subscribe if you haven't done so already, to make sure you stay up to date with any Titans update when there's some news coming out, or just in between kind of topical videos like this. But other than that, guys, click on my past couple of videos that are appearing on the screen. I do have a Patreon as well, which is where you can support me a bit further, and I have a Discord server where you can talk about Titans in the off season with me and many other kind of like-minded individuals. But thank you so much for watching, Titans. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.